Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So, in 2019, Huawei released this thing, the Huawei P30 Pro. And I remember seeing it from the likes of Marques Brownlee and Aaron from Mr. Who's the Boss, and lots of other tech reviewers. Now, I'm not really a tech reviewer, I am a camera reviewer. Well, primarily Canon because that's what I shoot. But nonetheless, I love mobile phone photography. I love mobile phones in general, really. And I remember seeing this in 2019 and thinking, wow, that is amazing. Now, I didn't end up buying the Pro version, and I can't remember why, but I brought the normal version, and I've got videos up of the normal P30 on my channel. If you go back far enough, they're not very good, but they're there. Now, unfortunately now, after the P30, there was a ban put in place by President Donald Trump, meaning that they could no longer work with or access most of American technology, including Google services. Now, they can run Android, but only the open source version, not the Android that you kind of get when you buy an Android phone. And it also meant that they couldn't use other American technology because they weren't allowed to work with American companies. Now, it's been a few years since that ban was put in place, bearing in mind that it's now February of 2024. And Huawei have kind of dropped off the radar here in the UK. They're still around for a lot of technology, tablets, phones and stuff like that. You can still buy a Huawei phone. The P60 Pro actually looks really rather good, but there is a lack of Google services because of it. Now, the last phone with Google services is the P30 range, and I believe the Mate 30 range. I'm not sure. And because of that, this is kind of the last Huawei that most, not all, most people will have brought. And it's a real shame because I really did like Huawei. They were a good phone company. They really were. The phones that they were making were really, really good. Now that we've got all the formalities out of the way, we can get down to what I am good at. Camera reviews. Now this has, at the time, it was a really good camera, and it still kind of is. I mean, now I daily drive a Samsung S23 Ultra, and I love it. It's great. It's a great phone. It's got a 10 times optical zoom. It's got a wide angle. It's got, you know, this really nice design. It's yada yada yada. And I remember in 2019 that Samsung kind of became the Apple of the Android world, and they kind of still are to an extent. You know, they're the one of, if not the biggest Android brand. So, what are the specs of the P30 Pro? Well, a 40 megapixel f1.6 main sensor with OIS, a 20 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide, and probably its biggest selling point, an 8 megapixel f3.4 periscope telephoto 5 times optical zoom. That's what it's called. Well, to give it its full title, 8 megapixel f3.4 125mm periscope telephoto 1/4 40th PDAF-OIS 5 times optical zoom. And we also have a TOF camera, or a time of flight camera. Now, a lot of cameras use CMOS sensors, and that is no different for the P30 Pro. The main difference between the sensor in this one and the sensor in this one is the colors, believe it or not. This uses an RGB, a red, green and blue pixel, and this uses RYYB, a red, yellow, yellow and blue. Now, this was made in cooperation with Leica, and you can see that just, let's, can you see that? Just there, Leica. We got some Leica branding. Now, unfortunately for the P30 Pro, It's kind of that. It's just a sticker for the camera, which really does annoy me because the camera is good. It's not amazing, it's good. It is quite good actually, especially for a 2019 camera phone. So how do pictures look straight from the camera? Well, they look okay. They're not amazing, but they're not disappointing. That 40 megapixels is working quite well there. And the optical image stabilization on the 5x optical zoom it's pretty good. It's not, again, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible. I've seen a lot worse in more professional lenses. Now you can zoom in all the way to 50 times, which personally I wouldn't recommend. Personally, I wouldn't actually recommend going past about 10 times really, because you are no longer using an optical lens. You are then just cropping into the image. You may as well just walk a bit closer if you actually can. So Huawei don't want you really taking pictures like that. They want you taking pictures in landscape, because everything is set up on the bottom, or not on the bottom, but on the right hand side of everything. And actually you can now see how the cameras look. Now, unfortunately, because of that RYYB sensor, pictures don't look the same as they do on an RGB image sensor. So here is my S23 Ultra for comparison. You can just see that there. I think it might actually be a little bit blown out. Is it blown out? It is a little bit. Just there. And I'm going to take a selfie on the selfie cameras and I'll put it up in a sec. Now, looking at the two selfies here myself, you can see a definite colour change. You can see that the P30's image is a lot warmer than on the Samsung. Now, yes, do bear in mind that the S23 Ultra is a newer device. It is. So you do have to take that into consideration when thinking about this, because, well, better sensor technology. But you can definitely see that they are using a different sensor for this, which is fine. That's nothing bad about the Huawei, especially if you prefer a warmer feel to your pictures. And that is what you will get. You will get a warmer tone to the pictures. And to be fair, if you don't like that warmer tone, you can change it in editing. It is a shame that you can't change it before, but you can edit that out and cool down the images in editing. And to be able to change that, you will want to shoot in what they call RAW, which is a DNG format, which is technically RAW, but it's also a smaller file size because, well, it's phone storage, and there's usually only about 120 to 500 gigs on a mobile these days. And especially how that there's no expandable storage on this, well, no, correction, there is, but it's Huawei's proprietary expandable storage, which I don't like. I really don't like that. I mean, to be fair, the Samsung doesn't offer any of that at all, so it's kind of a win in a way for the Huawei phone, because at least it has expandable storage. I'm not sure what's worse, having proprietary expandable storage or having no expandable storage. I think having no expandable is worse. Now, I want to actually kind of touch on the looks of this phone, because the looks of this device, I know the looks aren't to do with the camera, but I do want to touch on them. Because the colour schemes that Huawei came out with in 2019 were amazing. I mean, this is just, look at how it reacts to the light. And it looks really nice. I really, really like this one. But because it's now so old, because this is 2019's model, it has lots of, well, it's quite hard to keep clean from your fingerprints. Whereas something like, obviously a newer device can offer that, although it does wear down over time. And this is a prime example of that. If you might have seen it already, but there we go. Look, you can see glimpses. Let's, come on, there we go. Look at the fingerprints on the back of that device. Look at that. That is just horrendous. So unfortunately, I would recommend getting a case for it, which is annoying because you've got this beautifully backed phone it is glass. I believe it's Gorilla Glass, but I'm not sure. Because I do camera reviews, I didn't look up what glass it was. But I'm going to assume it's Gorilla Glass of some sort. So because this is a flagship, you do get some nice little benefits of that. You get wireless charging, you get fast charging USB-C, you don't have a headphone jack, and you don't have 120 hertz. What's a hertz? You don't get 120 hertz refresh rate. It is capped at 60, but it is a 1080p display and a 4000 milliamp hour battery. And Huawei's are well known for lasting for days, and that is exactly true for this one. This one itself lasts for days. I mean, bearing in mind, no, I do not use this phone as a daily driver. This is actually my alarm phone because it works out easier. And because that display is OLED, we get the benefits of OLED. So we get an always on display and really annoying notifications that just went off in my hand. I thought I turned them all off, but apparently not. Now, because this is an older device, it's going to be cheap, which is good. We like cheap. This is, after all, this is budget photography. You can pick this up from CEX for £190. That is ridiculously cheap for a flagship phone. So because this is such an old device, we need to talk about software support because there isn't any. It ran out about a year or two ago, which is really, really unfortunate because it means that, yes, you can still use this for the next few years, but only when apps support the software, which will be a while, I would imagine, at least another 4 or 5 more years, but slowly apps will stop supporting it, which is a real shame. I do wish some Android manufacturers would follow in the path of Apple to an extent of supporting devices for a long, long time. Now, some manufacturers, Android manufacturers, sorry, do support that. I believe Samsung, Google, and I think OnePlus. I want to say OnePlus. And also I think Fairphone are also providing at least 5 to 7 years of software support now, which is really good. I love it. Great. Support the phones for as long as you can. But if you buy an older device like this, you do have compromises. You just do. And software support is one of them. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me in this video. I'll see you in the next one.